Welcome to the Tej Talks podcast. Forget the property celebrities. We speak to relatable people with fascinating journeys, just like you. Hosted by Tej Singh, we bring you news stories, life-changing deals, and expert advice every week.
On today's show, we have Sean Forsey, an old friend of mine from the Progressive Property Masterclass. He is the co-founder of Nestwise Property Group and is a rapidly growing property entrepreneur. He is based in South Wales in a lovely little, I'd call it a village, being a Londoner. And his company essentially provides service accommodation, management and sourcing, investment sourcing and refurbishment, hands-off for investors, and also builds their own portfolio. He has lots of tips, and if you follow him on Facebook, you will have seen how quickly he is growing and expanding his business. Sean Forsey, welcome to the Tej Talks podcast.
Thanks, Tej. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's nice to catch up with you and hear your lovely accent again. It's been so long.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's been a little while since we've met up and spoken in person.
It has actually. So for everyone listening, me and Sean and his lovely wife Alison met at the masterclass, Progressive Masterclass in, I want to say the end of May. Am I right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
And I walked in, didn't know anyone, kind of usual thing, sat down next to these two, and yeah, we just got on and pretty much spoke every day, and I think we were all in the pub till late after every session. So yeah, we definitely spent quite a bit of time getting to know each other and all of us learning and being shocked at how amazing Wales is for investment. So, for people who don't know your story, and I think a lot of people might do actually, because you're quite active on Facebook, like what were you doing before property?
Before property, I was actually a manager. So I've always been into sales, business to business, retail. But the most recent role, I was probably the sales manager for Magnet Kitchens.
Okay. And so you've kind of worked in a job for quite a lot of your life, right? What was your sort of defining moment that made you say, you know what, I want to quit this and do my own thing?
I think over the years, yeah, like you said, being employed in a job for all these years has kind of taken its toll. And every few years I was changing jobs and not really settling down and being happy in them. So the defining moment for us was we were on holiday in Thailand last November, and I read a great book by Rob Moore called Life Leverage. That inspired me then to kind of look into it more and decide what we wanted to do with the rest of our lives, really. And I'd come towards the end of a renovation project for our own home and loved it so much that that's what we decided to kind of look into and pursue from there, really, starting in about January, I would say. Wow.
So that's starting in January this year, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I know your own renovation for your house is pretty funky. You've got a TV in the shower, am I right?
Almost, yeah. It's in the bathroom, so it's not quite in the shower, but it's in the bathroom. You can lay in the jacuzzi bath and watch the TV next to you. Yeah.
I mean, now that is living life, right? So...
yeah. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so you started in kind of January, and then what did you kind of start with? How did you get going?
So in January, we decided to take some money out of the house that we'd renovated. So without really knowing that we'd done it, we created value in our current property and decided to leverage that money then to buy a second property, which was on the same road. So we bought that property then, and that's where it kind of started and stemmed from that one.
And then, so tell me about that first deal. What were the figures in terms of what did you buy it for? What did you refurb it? What was it reval? What does it rent at? Just so everyone can get a picture of kind of how you've really started.
Yeah, sure. So it was a great bargain property that we found, again, by accident. So we hadn't been educated at this point. And it was on the market for 41,000, which was extremely cheap in terms of property and certainly seemed like a great bargain for the area. We went and viewed the property and I immediately offered 37 and it was accepted the same day.
Wow. I mean, that's a bargain on top of a bargain. So
yeah, absolutely.
Why was it accepted? Like, what was the reason for the seller being so motivated?
So it was a probate sale, and the vendor was a relative that was selling it on behalf of the estate, and a sale had just fallen through right at the point of exchange. So they were quite distressed. They wanted rid of the property, rid of the memories, and were just happy to let somebody else have it, as it were, really. So yeah, we were just in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely. So it's timing and sort of finding a motivated seller and really, creating a win-win. They wanted out ASAP. You offered what you thought was valuable, and well, it worked. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then so you bought that for about 37, and then what was it, in a state, or was it kind of habitable?
It was habitable, although I wouldn't want to live in it myself. But it was habitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all right. Yeah, wasn't too bad.
And then, did you spend any money refurbishing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it took quite a while for that sale to go through. There were all sorts of small complications. It had never been registered with Land Registry, which happens to about 5% of the properties in the UK. And of course, we picked one of those. So, so that was a bit of bad luck to start with. But it just took longer to overcome. And we then, during the time we were waiting for it to go through legals, we went to our first progressive event. So we learned a few things from the free courses and realised that we could refurbish it and then refinance, which was quite bizarre to us at the time. So I think all in all, we've just come to the end of the refurb on that, and we've spent around about £12,000.
Okay, so 37 plus 12 brings us to about 49. If my maths is good.
Correct.
How much is it going to be revalued at?
So we've just put in for the refinance now at a figure we've been advised by local agents of 85,000.
So that's a pretty big margin you've got there from what you've spent to what the revalue is. Are you getting all your money out of this deal, or is it some left in? Or
no, this will be complete. A complete BRR, as we like to call it. So yeah, buy, refuse, refinance, all our money back out, and a bit of profit, and yeah, some good cash flow as well.
Wow. And so how much will that cash flow a month?
So it's currently on the market at £550 a calendar month for the rent. We're waiting for a tenant now. They're just doing the first viewings this week.
Wow.
So I would say net cash flow will be around about 300.
Okay, so that's comparable to, say, the West Midlands in terms of net cash flow, but your property prices are half or a third of what you kind of get up there. So yeah. Why, and I guess a lot of people from the masterclass would be wondering this as well, why are property prices in Wales, in the part of Wales you're in, so cheap, but the rentals are so good for the price of the house?
A bit of a mystery to me, really, as to why there's such a disparity. But the rental prices kind of between 400 and 600 on the majority of properties in the area. So that's whether they're, whether you're fortunate enough to pick up one at 40,000 or whether you end up paying about 150,000. You don't really then go over sort of 650 if you're really pushing it on the rentals. So yeah, if you buy cheap, you can rent them just as well if you do a good refurb and have a nice finished product.
Yeah. Okay. And whereabouts in Wales are you based?
So I actually live in a town called Maesteg. It's just in the county of Bridgend, halfway between Cardiff and Swansea. And
what kind of tenants do you expect to get, or have the agent said you usually get in this kind of area?
Okay, so we can expect still to get working professional tenants. They tend to be more tradespeople, if you like, or manual workers. But certainly our agent is still providing vetted tenants with guarantors who are working. We will consider LHA tenants, but we don't need to go down that route if we don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. And so, Sean, when we met, you were doing quite a few courses with Progressive. You had different ideas. I've seen you post about a really big serviced accommodation block. Like, when we first start out in property, we're taught kind of have a strategy, focus on one thing, and I guess that goes with any business. What is your sort of current strategy?
Okay, so I'm glad you touched on that. So, and we'll come to some other things at the end, but I got caught up in all the shiny new things. So anything that was coming across my lap, I was kind of, I'll look at this, I can package this, I can buy this. And, you kind of jump around from one thing to another. So it took a little while to focus. But we've truly focused now on building our own portfolio of single buy-to-lets. We're also sourcing these for our investors, doing a complete deal package in terms of sourcing, access to power team, the refurb, and then sorting out the letting or the sale at the end of the property. Our second strategy, and this is why Alison is coming on board as well, is going to be serviced accommodation. So we're going to use part of our portfolio, some of the single buy-to-lets we're going to use as serviced accommodation, and we're also focusing on one big serviced accommodation project, which is a new development for us.
Okay. And what made you settle on kind of deal packaging, single lets, and serviced accommodation?
I just think because buy-to-let was the kind of easy entry level strategy to go after, to cut your teeth, if you like, and learn your craft, learn the refurbs, learn how long things take and how much things cost. It set us up in the best possible way to ensure we knew what we were doing going forward, and we knew what we were doing for our investors. So by us learning buy-to-lets, it then allowed us to confidently source them and get everything done for the investors to give them the best possible package, if you like.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to package some HMOs, some commercials and all this thing, but I think they'll just come a bit later. We want to stick to the bread and butter right now.
Yeah. And, if someone, met you and said, "Oh, Sean, I love what you're doing. I want to be a deal packager as well." What would be your sort of initial advice to them?
I think truly you need to get the education to that level. So you have to get educated in deal packaging. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of things you need to be compliant with. So to ensure that you get full compliance, you're protected, your investors are protected, and then you can confidently go on and, actively seek investment in a professional manner. I think that's really the key to getting a start on it, if you like. I would also say then, picking up with a mentor or someone who's done things before you and really kind of latching on and getting as much information as you possibly can.
Okay. And when it comes to finding these deals, I know we touched on it kind of off mic, but it's one of these things which talked about a lot. There's a lot of talk of direct to vendor, using agents, using this. What do you think has been your most successful way of finding deals, whether it's for yourself or for your investors?
So far we've done really well with local agents, and the key is to getting out there and speaking with them and meeting them, getting some viewings done, being honest and open about what you're trying to achieve, and making sure they understand the strategies. So that really has been the key to success for us so far. And just get out there and get to meet them.
And let's talk about agents in a little bit more detail. They are they're a breed of people that I think new property investors can get kind of scared of, can get kind of wary of, in terms of, are they going to believe me? Are they going to listen to me? Are they going to help me? There's quite a lot of worries that come with it, right? What would be, bits of advice that you could give to new people of how to become good friends with agents and how to build a strong sort of working relationship as well?
Okay, so I started out by meeting one local agent. So I went in and had a chat with him, explained exactly what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve. And then how could we help him? What does he struggle with? And are there certain properties that he has difficulty in selling, or certain areas that maybe would work for us? So it would be a win-win for both of us.
Yeah.
And then, we also then said, well, look, have you got some time to show us around some properties, just to give us some examples? Not so much as, going out on an official viewing and making offers on that property, but just to get us used to each other, to spend time chatting out in other properties away from the office, and really understanding that person and about what makes them tick. Do they want really low ball offers? So at least they've got offers. Do they are they scared of the low ball offers and they don't want to put them across to vendors, So just finding out everything you need to know about what that agent is looking to achieve in his role, because obviously he's got targets as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so really focusing on like building that kind of human connection with people in every aspect of any business really makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to focus on the person and silly things. I'd probably go in most weeks actually and take in biscuits or cakes and sit down and have a coffee, even if we're not talking about the deals that we've been looking at, but just to say hi and how you're doing and how's everybody else in the office, and am I causing any issues? Is there any friction because of the amount of stuff I'm putting through them? Because a lot of our deals are through the same agent. Yeah. So I feel like I'm always emailing them with questions, chasing up for for purchases. So, I just want to make sure that, you've got the best relationship as people, not just in the business sense,
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic tip. And I think it's something we forget when we're kind of in business and working. We're very kind of focused on the work aspect and the business aspect, but you're being very sort of empathetic and you're understanding their situation and just being a human, which, it definitely works, right? So, talk me through like the latest deal that you've worked on, that you've purchased for yourself.
We've got one going through right at the minute, so we're about 2 weeks away on that, and it's for a property we're going to use for serviced accommodation. Mm-hmm. And it's another probate property. We've done quite well out of these, to be honest. Yeah. And it was on the market for 70,000, and we've actually been able to secure it at 54,000.
Wow.
I know, it's a good one. We've got a refurb to do on it, and we're going to spend about, I would say, around about 12,000 on it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is going to be because we want to add an extra bedroom for serviced accommodation. Naturally, we want to do some sort of funky decor. So, it's going to be a really nice property that then we can get it revalued, refinanced, get probably all of our money back out again, and then onto an SA mortgage where we can then trial it for serviced accommodation in this area. Mm-hmm. There's lots of serviced accommodation in the area, but they're all different and the values are different. You see it from 25 quid to 200 quid a night, and it's just really difficult. So we want to trial it on this property and break the system, if you like, just to make sure we know what we're doing before we tackle the big one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, when it comes to serviced accommodation, what would you say are, going to be some of the challenges that you'll face in your area in particular with serviced accommodation? Because I know in London and Reading and Heathrow, it's a case of maybe there's so much competition, but in your area, do you see any big challenges coming up?
My biggest fear, if you like, in this area is about, is it going to be seasonal or not? Now, our target market is definitely holiday makers, mm-hmm. and people for short lets that are staying for use of the outdoor adventure sort of aspect of the area that we've picked it in, if you like. Mm-hmm. So yes, we may pick up some corporate lets, but generally it's the short stay typical holiday maker that we're looking at. So how seasonal is that going to be? Now, if we were by a beach and we were looking at something like that, you'd think, you're only going to get accommodation in the summer, but this is in the forest and the mountains. So outdoor adventure sports and mountain biking and stuff like that is pretty much all year round. I can imagine it being quieter in the winter months, but I'm kind of waiting to see how that pans out in terms of the occupancy spread over the year,
Absolutely. And, a question that's just sort of come into my head as I was thinking about what you've been talking about is that you've been getting these properties, and I know the other ones that you've also offered on and are working on, and from seeing your deal packaging emails, you're getting them generally quite a lot below sort of market value.
Yeah.
Is it a case of right place, right time, right situation, or do you have a certain strategy or tactic, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both of those, really. I mean, yes, we do pick the ideal property. So when I'm searching through Rightmove or Zoopla, you can quickly identify which may be probate properties. It's not too hard to spot them sometimes. But so we do hone in on those and go for those first. and that's where we've had most success. I think as well that coupled with, my 20 odd years in sales and negotiation have helped really. And again, the relationship with the agents, so we don't fear now going in with low offers. The agent knows to expect them. He's happy to convey that to the owner of the property, that it's not a personal thing that we're offering such a low price. We are a business, we are investors, and that's the offer that we can go to make it work for us. And if they don't accept it, it's not an issue. There's nothing in that respect personal, or we're not trying to insult anyone, but we're trying to make it a win-win for everyone. But so I think, a combination of all these things and my negotiation skills probably have helped.
Fantastic. And then another thing that I guess a lot of, any property investor would talk about is financing deals. So obviously we touched on your first one, you remortgaged your property, took money out. By the sounds of things, you're getting most of your money back out of deals. So, are you looking for investors to fund your own portfolios and to give them a percentage return? Or do you do that with your own cash and the investors are mainly for your deal packaging?
Both really. So we are looking for investment for our own portfolio, so people to invest in us and what we're trying to achieve. Then we can offer them a fixed return. We're getting most of the money back most of the time, but of course each time you leave a little slice in, maybe here and there, your pot soon diminishes. So you want to try and keep a constant flow of investment, and we are looking to scale our own portfolios, because as you can imagine, all these deals that I pass out for investment, if I could buy every single one of them myself, then we'd be laughing. So, but that's not always the case. But if we can get investment for us, that'd be a plus. But always got investors for deals for other investors also. As you've seen with the ones that we put out there.
Yeah. And how do people respond to these deals? Because especially for if you come from London, I mean these deals are just they're so good, and every time I see them, I just think, wow, there's it just stacks. Are you getting quite a strong response? Are you getting people fighting over the deals? How's it kind of going?
We're getting quite a strong response. We do get quite a lot of emails in and inquiries and messages, and pretty much every deal is sold within a week, let's say, of putting it on there. Because by the time people respond, we send out the package, they mull it over, they come back, they have a chat, and we go back and forth. And invariably, the deals that we have sold, every investor has sort of at least come down to the area. We've taken them around and shown them around for a day, and given them lunch in one of the local pubs, just so they get a feel for the place. Because it's a beautiful area where we are, and they can't fail to be impressed by the location and the views and things like that we show them. So it's really good that they come down and have a look. They're bowled over by it then. When they see that location, coupled with the house prices, coupled with the demand and what we do. So I always take them to see one of the properties that we're refurbing. And they're impressed by it. So it works well for us so far.
No, that's fantastic. I was going to say I'd love to come down and see, because I know I've seen your pictures on Facebook, and I think one of your recent refurbs look really good, really modern, especially compared to what it was beforehand, which was fairly outdated, should I being kind about it. And so you're obviously packaging the whole deal for people, making it pretty hands off. They just need to sort of provide the funds. Now, how have you found and kept good tradespeople?
Okay, so I think for us, when we did our own renovation on our own home, we kind of employed a tradesperson. They came in, they did some work, they left again. And we didn't really have an opportunity then to offer anything else to them. But now then, with our portfolio building of our own and for other investors, we're able to keep them on board now because they know how much work we've got coming through all the time. So that then also allowed us to take on a full-time project manager, if you like. So he doesn't work for us, so he's not an employee, but we're the only person he works for, if that makes sense. Having him on board, and then he knows a lot of trades, so he brings them in and gets it all right at the right times. And he's got an even bigger network than we had at the time. So that's been key, really. Having the project manager definitely has helped no end.
Wow. And so do you essentially get him in, brief him on what you want done, and then he does the rest. He finds them, he gets make sure that they do it correctly, does all the kind of hard work, and you just pay him and manage him. Is that kind of how it works?
Exactly that, Tej. So
Wow.
yeah, he does everything. He gets all the trades in. We're still buying the materials, so he'll come to me and say we need X, Y, Z, and I source the materials and make sure that they're delivered on time for him. But yeah, he deals with everything else. The trades coming in, making sure that they get paid. So he comes to me and says, I've got to pay X, Y, Z for whoever it is. And then he deals with the quality and the standard of their work. Obviously, I go in on a every couple of days or every week just to make sure that everybody's happy. And yeah, it's really, really hands-free for me now in terms of project management.
Wow, so you've really leveraged it out to an expert who can just get on with it, he's trusted to do it, and will do the job correctly. So that's definitely leveraged lifestyle. I think Rob Moore would be proud. I'm sure he is.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big step because having a project manager on board to that extent where you've got exclusivity to him, you can imagine it's cost quite a bit. But so it was a bit unnerving at first, thinking, wow, if I commit to paying him X amount per week, what if I haven't got work, or what's going to happen? But yeah, I can't stress enough the power of outsourcing and what it's allowed me to get on and do then.
Yeah, and what other things do you outsource?
What else do we outsource? So we're just trialing now with somebody else about outsourcing viewings and literally going out on a block day of viewings, viewing the properties, assessing what refurbs that they might need. So we're trying to train them up and see how that's going to work. That will be outsourced. I've outsourced then as well some bits and pieces to Fiverr to see how that works, and kind of test the system. I've never used it before. So we put out, like, for our logo, we put out there for some promo videos, which I haven't released yet. So that's exciting stuff to come. So just doing little bits here and there just to test things. The biggest thing for me will obviously be now in the next couple of weeks, Alison's on board full time. So she'll be doing a lot of the admin work, which again then lets me go out and do the deals and source the investors, if you like.
Wow, okay. And that's, doing viewings is one of those things where I think it's quite hard to think of outsourcing it because it's the main decision on if you're going to put in money in a property. But I guess it's about that trust and about knowing that, look, they're not going to get it 100% right, but they might get it 95% right or 90% right. So that's, was there a mindset sort of barrier to get over there, or were you easy with just outsourcing it?
What, in terms of the viewing properties?
Yeah, in terms of getting someone else to view that, was it quite easy for you to just think, you know what, I'm going to get someone trained up and do it? Or were you like, oh, I'm not sure?
Yeah, you're right. It was a bit hesitant, but it was actually my daughter that we've used to do that. Well, we have three, and a son. So this is daughter number one that showed a bit of an interest and is interested in property, has a desire to maybe come on board full time and work with us. So we thought, well, how can we create an opening and be able to teach her something that would also be useful for us? So again, is that win-win, So we arranged some viewings and I went with them, and then I also then left them go on their own to some viewings, and yeah, so far so good. Very enthusiastic, and coming back with the right information and using the checklist to do the viewings so that we get an accurate report back, taking photos. It doesn't have to be difficult as long as you systemize it, and they know exactly what you want to achieve.
No, absolutely. Great advice. And let's talk about branding and social media, because I think when you and me first met, you weren't heavily into branding or using Facebook or posting things about property. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah. I've only ever used Facebook to see what people have had for their dinner.
Which is the classic use alongside cat pictures and cute dogs.
Yeah, you got it.
So and memes about life. So, what made you think I need to use this properly and I need to, be consistent with it, which you have been?
I think, again, that probably came from when I first started and seeing that there was this progressive community, if you like, and seeing how active that was. and the mixture of all the different information that you could either put on or take off it. I got a lot of advice and support from just the progressive community when I started, and then started to expand that into my own Facebook. So my Facebook connections have grown probably from about 100, 150 before I even thought about property to almost 2,000 now.
Wow.
It's grown massively, and that's pretty much been organic as well. I haven't paid anybody else to go find me connections or anything like this. It's literally been from building up from people giving me advice like yourself. You advise me on what to do and how to brand yourself and make sure that you're out there, daily or, every couple of days to make sure that you're in contact with people.
Absolutely. And how important do you think social media and branding is, as someone in property, especially when you're trying to find finance, perhaps?
Well, it's a great example to say that so far the only method I'm using is via Facebook, and that's where I've found the investors I've got so far. So I haven't gone out there to networking meetings or progressive events or anywhere else. All my deals have come via Facebook. Now, whether that's through the progressive community or other kind of property groups and pages on Facebook that I've got them, but they've all come via that portal, really.
Wow. And something that a lot of people ask and get stuck on, and I think you and me might have discussed this as well, is what do I post? What do I talk about? So how do you generate content and decide what to talk about?
I did struggle at first. I was like, well, what am I supposed to say? And sometimes you get caught up in putting all the positive things. So I did this and I won this and I bought this and it's all going well.
Yeah.
And then you kind of think and realize that people want to hear the whole story and get some advice on when you may have gone wrong so that they don't. And, some tips and some little bits of nugget information that that you think others may not, So the content now comes quite easy in terms of, right, what are my top 10 tips for this? What were my worst failures? And, just all these little bits of information have really helped a lot of people. And one little trick I learned, and this is a little tip for anyone else out there that's struggling with content, is post a question, even if you know the answer to the question.
Mm-hmm.
So what that does then is obviously spurs conversation on, and all different things come up in that conversation. So you get a lot of different points of view. If you thought you already know the answer, you might even change your opinion then by everybody else's answers. And of course, that helps a bigger number of people, and it gets more notice than me just stating one fact.
That is a very, very good point. Ask questions even when you know the answer to them. I've seen you do that. I've seen others do it, and it works. People like to answer questions. As kind of weird as it sounds. Good. And in terms of the investors you've got from Facebook alone, have they brought in enough that it's made the time you've put in on Facebook worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely have. So I've sold all the deals that I've wanted to sell. I've sold via Facebook. So I've got my sourcing fee, my project management fees out of that, and all the investors I've dealt with so far have then also said that they'd be coming back for repeat business. So, yeah, time invested versus the income from it, have been brilliant. Wow. But it doesn't mean that you're going to get all the investment you ever need from Facebook. You certainly still need to expand, and that's the next part of our journey, if you like. No,
great. And I saw that post today on Facebook, actually. There's quite an interesting discussion going on in there about marketing funnels and which tactics to use. I threw my 2 pence in there as well.
Yes.
And, this is quite a broad question, and I ask everyone this, so answer it how you will. What are your thoughts on the property market in your area?
Oh, good question. I'm very confident in the market in our area at the moment. I did a bit of research into how long properties take to sell, how the agents are all performing in the area. There's a great website for that as well, which it escapes me at the minute, but I'm sure we can share it at some point.
Yeah.
And it allows us to analyze the agents and how they're performing and which agent performs best in terms of the best success rate, the best sale price achieved, the best time taken to sell, if you like. So, yeah, on average in our area at the moment, I know all agents are performing around about 40 to 45 days from putting a property on the market to actually getting an agreed sale. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And we're happy with that in the area. And our investors are certainly happy with that as well if they're looking to flip. In terms of the rental market, it's very buoyant. So there's not enough properties in the area for rent. So we're doing very well with buy-to-lets.
Wow. And, you're doing a lot, right? You're doing so many things and you're doing so much and you have a family. And, I always see your posts and I just wonder, how is he managing it all? Like, what's your mantra? Do you have a routine? Are you quite strict in blocking out time? Like, how do you manage to do all these things at the same time and still, have a life?
Right. Okay. So sadly, I do not have a routine. It's something that I have to work on myself personally, and I'm not a very routine person. But I'm very dedicated and driven. So I spend a lot of time, sadly, in front of the computer, making sure that I've responded to all my emails in a timely manner. I've answered everybody's messages and phone calls and texts and messengers and PMs and DMs and all these different formats that information comes to me.
Yeah.
I'm super efficient on responding back. If I put a Facebook post out there, I'm always quick to monitor that and make sure I respond quickly. The challenge is then, I suppose, when you get towards the end of a day, whenever you decide that may be, is switching off. So from a work point of view, we've all tried to get into this to get rid of the JOB. You've got to be careful not to turn it into a JOB. So you've got to work hard to start with, and you've got to set all this up, and you've really got to be driven in terms of, getting everything ready to succeed, if you like. And then at some point the scales will tip and you'll start getting more and more of your time back. But it's very important to forget who else is important in your life, partners and children and families and things, and making sure that you still allow time to do the things you wanted to do and do the things you love.
Great. And I saw a post in the Progressive Community today from our mutual friend Josh, and it was about you quitting your job. Now,
yeah.
Just briefly talk me through, because when we met, I remember you had a date in mind, but then I feel like you quit it a lot earlier than planned.
That's correct, yeah. So the date I had in mind was actually the 17th of August, which is literally just past last Friday. What happened was I wanted to go 100 mile an hour in the property journey to set things up as quickly as possible. And I wasn't able to dedicate the amount of time I wanted to property. And I felt that the job was actually holding me back, if you like. And I just knew I could succeed if I just had that bit more time. So I did make a brave decision to break free from the job early. And it's paid off for me. Now, it probably won't be for everyone. And I certainly don't recommend it to everyone. But it definitely worked for me.
Okay, well, congratulations. It's no easy feat quitting your job, especially a lot earlier than you thought. But I guess you came to a point where it was a tipping point. It was either stay in the job, do it really slowly, maybe not do as well, or just get rid of the job, jump straight in, and succeed essentially, right?
Yeah, because, when the day I came out of the job, I knew I had to succeed. You're under even more pressure and you're even more driven then because, that's what's going to pay the bills. So, yes, it does push you. So if anyone's kind of thinking, shall I, shan't I, then think about if you do, it will make you go and work harder and allow you to do more things. So you will get to success quite quickly if you've got the time. But yeah, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer as to when you shouldn't leave a job, but just give it some thought.
And on that note of leaving a job, sort of since you've left or since you've started in property, have the deals that you've done and the sort of deals you've packaged, have they allowed you to have some form of income that could be considered financial freedom, or are you still working your way there?
Let's see. So the income I've had from the deals that I've sold. So let's focus on that bit. So the deal sourcing element of the business, the income I've had from that has paid more than my salary would have so far.
Okay.
So my salary wasn't huge, but that has covered my salary, if you like, and a little bit more. So we're okay on that front in terms of monthly cash flow.
Yeah.
But what it's also enabled me to do then is to secure a further 2 properties with investment, which will then, once refinanced and given the investors money back, will also have me equity in those 2 properties. And that will amount to maybe about, let's just say 40,000 as a rough idea. So would I have had that otherwise? No, I wouldn't. So am I better off? Yes, I am, because I've got 2 properties with £40,000 worth of equity in. That will also then give monthly cash flow from one, and from the other we're going to use the serviced accommodation. So we don't know what that income is going to look like yet, but am I better off? Yeah, I am. Of course I'm better off already. Yeah.
Good. Fantastic. I'd love to hear that. Property has changed your life, and it's continuing to do so, right? So good decision to quit your job, eh?
Yeah.
So Sean, unfortunately, this brings us to the last part of the show. This is the quickfire round. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I want 3 sort of quick and short answers for each. So it's a 3x3. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
So what are the 3 biggest mistakes that you've made on your property journey?
Okay, so this is quite easy because I've thought about them a lot and tried to change it. So, number 1, I didn't focus quick enough. I didn't focus on what I wanted to achieve, what properties to go after. So that's number 1, didn't focus. Number 2, I would say it was not having the routine. So we spoke about this already, but I kind of didn't have a structure to my day. So no routine to follow. That was number 2. My third one was I probably didn't get out there and network early on enough to allow me to scale quicker with investment. So yes, we've been successful so far, but I should have done a bit more networking to scale up quicker.
Okay. And then, kind of similarly to that, what would be your top 3 tips for new property investors?
Top 3 tips, right. Start something straight away. So get out there, do something, get started, especially with estate agents. Speak to them early on, get an understanding. Get out there, start something. Number 2, I would say leverage others, whether it be for time, for money, for expertise, whatever that may be, and outsource as soon as possible, even before you think you need it. Number 3, get a routine, because I didn't.
Okay, fantastic. And then a more personal one, what are your top 3 goals for the future? Short-term, mid-term, long-term, whatever you want to go with.
I think our first 3 goals that we're looking at the moment is trying to systemize and make it as hands-free as possible in certain areas of the business, so it will allow me to go out and find further investors. The second part is probably what everybody's looking for, and that's financial freedom. Alison's given up her job, and she's sort of out of that in about 3 weeks. So we want to make sure then that we add a little bit more of our monthly cash flow to make us financially free, if you like. Our third one then, my goal is to actually mentor others. And I toyed with it. It was, do I want to coach? Do I want to mentor? Do I want to train? What do I want to do? And I come to the conclusion it's actually to mentor.
Okay, cool. Well, look, Sean, I think this has been a great chat. I've learned a lot, and it's good to kind of speak to you again and understand your story and see how quickly you've progressed from, sort of the bunch of education classes you were doing and courses to selling deals and, selling enough to live off and being quite, I'd say you're quite well known in your area with the right people, i.e. agents and tradesmen. So look, well done on your progress. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Tej. Yeah, we've really enjoyed the journey so far, and I can't recommend it enough to anyone thinking of getting into property.
Amazing. Well, Sean, thank you so much for your time. I know you're running at 100 miles an hour at the moment, so I'll let you get back, and yeah, hopefully we'll speak soon.
Yeah, definitely, Tej. No doubt we'll catch up at some point very soon.
Perfect.
If you like this podcast, connect with Tej on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for more great content.